That's coming for me. All right. Good. Good morning. Sound check good? Keep talking. It's a lovely April morning here in Columbus, Ohio. I think the temperature was 43 degrees. You good, Abe? Yeah? Okay, great. Well, good morning. Thank you for coming. My name is Kevin Werner. I'm the Executive Director of Ohioans to Stop Executions and the OTSE Action Fund. Today, we released a new report. It's called The Human Cost of the Death Penalty. And in the report, we detail some of the system's costs, both to state and local budgets and the costs that are not measured in dollars and cents. Some of the highlights from the report: under the current death penalty law, Ohio has surpassed $1 billion on death penalty cases. 342 sentences at $3 million apiece puts us at $1.026 billion. There was just one new death sentence in 2024, just 2 capital indictments filed by county prosecutors. To give you a sense as to where the death penalty system currently is, over the past 5 years, Ohio has averaged 0.4 new death sentences per year, which is way down compared to the mid-1980s, where Ohio averaged about 16 new death penalty cases per year. In 2024, 4 prisoners were removed from death row. Since Ohio's last execution in 2018, 35 people have been removed from death row. Some died of natural causes, some were removed due to severe mental illness, others were removed because of intellectual disability, and some were resentenced to life sentences. Of the current death row, 1/3 have, so that's 40 of 119, have pending claims of severe mental illness or intellectual disability. That is a stunning characterization of who gets the death penalty in Ohio. Attempts by some lawmakers to bring nitrogen gas suffocation executions do not address any of the underlying problems with the death penalty system. It's time for Ohio to stop spending millions of dollars to prop up this broken system. So repealing the death penalty is not just fiscally responsible, it is a moral and practical necessity. I'm grateful to Reverend Dr. Jack Sullivan and to Sister Joanne Gross, Sister Laura Bregar, Charles Keith, for joining me this morning. I'm also grateful to Gary Moore, who had a conflict, could not be with us this morning, but who certainly sends along his support for the work that we're doing. My friends here know all too well what it means to lose a loved one to violence. They know better than anyone the harm that's caused by the empty promises of Ohio's death penalty system. It's time to end executions in the state. The most compelling reason, we think, is because the harmful impacts on victim family members and co-victims. I'd like to introduce Sister Joanne Gross to share a little bit about her and her community's experience.
Good morning. I am Sister Joanne Gross, an attorney and a member of the Ursuline Sisters of Cleveland. Recently, the Attorney General has been calling for resuming executions, and that strikes a nerve with us. The Ursulines have been deeply touched by violent crime. The murder of our Sister Joanne Marie Masha 30 years ago horrified us. I remember vividly the details of Joanne Marie's murder, dealing with police and prosecutors, and sitting through the trial. Despite our public opposition to the death penalty, the prosecutors were not deterred and pursued death anyway. Only a jury's mistake on the verdict forms resulted in the young man not facing the death penalty at sentencing, which was an answer to our prayers. I am here to tell you that the death penalty is not serving the needs of victims' family members. We do not want to relive the trauma that comes with the death penalty system. The man who killed Joanne Marie was given a lengthy sentence, affording him time to reflect on his actions. After 30 years, he reached out to us, taking responsibility for his actions and seeking forgiveness. We now pray that Ohio legislators take up death penalty repeal bills immediately. And now I invite Jack Sullivan to the podium.
Thank you very much. I am Reverend Dr. Jack Sullivan Jr., and I am the Executive Director of the Ohio Council of Churches, a nearly 105-year-old statewide body that brings together 17 Christian denominations as a Jesus Christ movement for unity, justice, and peace. In addition to my ministerial title, I am also a murder victim family member, as on July 30th, 1997, while at a church convention in Denver, Colorado, I received a long distance and life-changing telephone call that informed me that my 21-year-old baby sister, Jennifer, had been shot to death in her Cleveland, Ohio home with her then 2-year-old daughter in the home at the time. At first glance, observers would conclude that murder victim families like mine would offer spirited support of the death penalty as a way to honor our slain loved ones while holding accountable rightfully convicted people who decided to take unlawful actions that ended their lives. However, on this day, I want the public to know that scores of murder victim family members have absolutely no confidence in the death penalty. For as they know, as we know, executions possess no life-restoring powers and offer no life-honoring properties. Executions cannot mend broken heart, but only create more. They cannot heal grieving souls, but only create more. And they cannot provide ever elusive closure. This we know. When the state elects to execute people, it surrenders the moral high ground of public safety and the sanctity of life as it touts, as it chooses instead to replicate the intentional, life-canceling values held by killers. When the state elects to execute, it contributes to the cycle of hollow, unnecessary, human-initiated death that claimed our loved ones. When the state elects to execute, it invests millions of dollars in the matrix and the machinery of death instead of the systems and structures that have the potential to rebuild and restore lives shattered by the murder of loved ones. To that end, when the state elects to execute, it asks me as a Christian, just days away from Easter's resurrection story, it asks me to sacrifice my faith in the God-given powers for human redemption, resurrection, and life to sacrifice all of that on the altar of human retaliation, revenge, and death. I refuse to do that. Therefore, when Attorney General Yo says murder victim family members can only receive justice through executions, he is wrong. I believe he means well, yet he is wrong, and he does not speak for us. The death penalty asks us to invest in lethal outcomes as if they have the power to give us restoration and closure. They do not. Executions replicate the immoral pattern of elective human-caused death that claimed our loved ones while bringing families uncertainty, delays, and extended agony. The death penalty does not serve our needs. Today, I'm pleased to announce the formation of a new group called Ohio Homicide Co-Victims for Repeal, which Reverend Dr. Crystal Walker of Dayton and I will co-chair. Over the past few years, more than 230 individuals have come to us, all homicide co-victims whose needs are not being met. While not all 230 people are with us today, this gives you a sense that the status quo, simply put, is not working. If the state wants to honor our murdered loved ones and meet our needs as co-victims, there are far more productive ways to do so than maintaining the ultimate punishment with its exorbitant costs and empty promises. Let the word go forth. Do not kill in our names. Thank you very much.
I think we're open for questions. Well, I'm gonna stay in my lane a little bit here. Not being a lawyer, I'm not sure about whether or not he has the authority to do that. But what I can say is that whether or not the Attorney General is successful acquiring lethal injection drugs through the federal government doesn't address a single problem that exists with the death penalty system today. Not a single one. And so seems like another example of a whole lot of effort, a whole lot of expenditure in time, human capital, et cetera, that's just going to lead to not a single execution happening in the state. So probably better use of resources focusing elsewhere. Sure. Yeah. My understanding from statements that we've heard from Governor DeWine is there are not going to be executions as long as he's governor. After that, you know, hard to say. Lots of things up in the air with the next, whoever the next governor is, but we just don't see, I don't see a productive outcome here actually occurring where Ohio begins to execute again. Sorry. I'm not really in a position to say what I think the governor should and shouldn't do. This, what I can say is that he clearly understands the issue. He's been probably the most well-versed governor that we've had with respect to the issue of the death penalty as county prosecutor, and then as lieutenant governor, and then as attorney general, now governor. He's got a pretty good grasp on this issue. And I think that his approach has been thoughtful and reflects deep experience with the issue. And I'm not, you know, in a position to say what I think he should do, but I appreciate the question.
Does Ohio homicide co-victims repeal or this larger effort? You have a sort of marketing campaign or ad campaign budget, you know, to kind of
Yeah.
get that out there on the radio.
Yeah.
Whatever. And as you know, ballots are
Yeah,
Summarize the question.
the question was, does the new entity have a budget roughly, right? Marketing campaign? Yeah. Yeah, ad campaign. Yeah, and the second part of the question was, is there an attempt to put this before Ohio voters? First and foremost, Ohioans to Stop Executions has created a new position within our structure to be an organizer that will work with Jack and with Crystal and with homicide co-victims. So the question of whether or not our resources allocated, the answer is yes, in a full-time staff position that's going to support the work of the entity. With respect to whether or not Ohio should, ballot measure this, I mean, the legislature put the law on the books. It is the legislature's responsibility to deal with it. Sentencing policy has never been the purview of Ohio voters, and nor should it. The reason that we elect state officials, reps and senators, is to make these decisions for us. And frankly, I think it's time that the legislature stop avoiding the conversation, stop kicking the can down the road, and deal with the issue. This is what they're elected to do. Well, I think the legislators who are not open to understanding the needs of victim family members and co-victims, like that's their prerogative. But what we have seen year in and year out is that more and more support, especially from conservatives, is coming to stand next to the folks that want to repeal the death penalty. So years ago, this may have been perceived to be a partisan issue. It's not. In fact, we're here today because over the last 5 or 6 years or so, more and more conservatives have stepped up and stepped into the debate and have said it's time to repeal the death penalty. People who have lived experience like Gary Moore, former ODRC director, whose job it was to stand in the room and make sure that the process was carried out. That's a deep and lasting psychological harm occurs when those sorts of things happen. So I think conservatives, I think Democrats, I think we all understand the harm. And so now it's time for the legislature to act.
Concerned that the nitrogen hypoxia approval has anything to this legislature?
What I would say about, first of all, nitrogen hypoxia sounds like an okay term. It's nitrogen gas suffocation. That is what it is. The reports that we have seen from other states that have done this, victim family members characterize it as torture. Quote, I never want or need to see that again. The state already has banned euthanizing mammals and animals in Ohio using inert gases, which is what nitrogen is. To answer your question, I just don't think that the appetite exists to do that. Knowing what it is, the medical community, I would imagine, would raise some concerns. But again, not a single one of the problems with the death penalty system will be addressed. Victim family member, co-victim needs are not addressed. We still have wrongful convictions. We still have exorbitant costs. And I would argue that the costs are even going to skyrocket because there's a whole new avenue of litigation coming. So it doesn't fix a single problem. It feels a little bit more like a political thing than it does good public policy that has outcomes that are both desired and needed.
Just in the last couple of weeks, we saw the House Finance Committee put an amendment into the budget that would force GRCs. A week later, they took it out. Doesn't that show consensus here?
I think that it shows consensus that we don't want to go down the road of adding lethal injection to the state budget. My interpretation of that is that's a real barometer for where the attitude is on executions. I think both. I think, when we look at the numbers of new death sentences, when we look at the numbers of capital indictments, my view is the public, juries, judges, prosecutors are already there in terms of we're not really using this system. It's not really giving us any outcomes. It's basically just churning through and burning through millions of dollars. And I think that if the death penalty were all of the things that proponents are saying it is, it's going to deter crime, it's going to heal, it's going to do all these things. What is going on with capital indictments? What is going on with new death sentences? The public has turned the page, and I think the legislature is starting to catch up with them.
What do you think of the recent attempt to privatize abortion, and to, that they can be prepared for that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're a single issue organization. We're focused on one and only one issue. And so our preference is for, a standalone repeal bill. But I acknowledge that other organizations have other ways of addressing the issue or going about the issue. I think that when you see different kinds of repeal bills, that just shows you that that the time is right and people have different ways of thinking about how to go forward there.
Either from a philosophical or policy or pragmatic standpoint, ethical, whatever, is this a matter of what the majority of Ohioans believe or not? Is this something that those who've been in the room, should make the decision on? And if it is a matter of public support or not support, what are
Yeah. We conducted 2 different rounds of polling, one in 2020, I think the other was in 2023. 2020 results were that 59% of Ohioans support ending the death penalty. In 2023, I think we were down to 56% support ending the death penalty. So the public is there. What I think that we have to remember is most of the polling that has ever been done on this issue in the past was a very, A or B question. And so you're going to get maybe an unreliable result when your choices are A or B. What we've consistently seen is that as sentencing alternatives have become more popular, probably because wrongful convictions, probably because of the experience of the folks here, the public is less comfortable with that. And we see that reflected in polling.
So I guess in the first part, is it a matter of what the public believes or the people they elect?
I mean, I think that the 43 years of data and evidence and experience with this issue and where the public appears to be is very much in alignment with the notion that this is a failed system and we shouldn't continue to do it, especially given its enormous cost, both dollars and cents, and with respect to what it does to state workers, what it does to co-victims, victim family members. So that's, I think, where we're at. Well, I would invite my colleagues here to answer any questions that any reporters may have. A question in the back, Abe?
How do people get in touch with Ohio?
Sure. Yeah, most important. On our website, OTSE.org, you can find the new report. It's right there on the front page, and all of our contact information is there. So if you have follow-up questions, we welcome that anytime. I appreciate your time and your attention this morning. Go ahead. Yeah. Sure. Up in the mic, please.
Sister Joanne Gross, Joanne, Gross as in gross, Gross. And I'm an Ursuline Sister of Cleveland. Yes, our pictures of Sister Joanne Marie Masha. Again, it's Joanne, Marie Masha, Mascha.
I'm Reverend Dr. Jack Sullivan Junior, always junior. And this is Jennifer Ann McCoy, my younger sister who was murdered July 30th, 1997 in Cleveland, Ohio. Her name was Jennifer Ann McCoy. No E. Thank you for asking. Yes. Mhm. Sure. Mhm. Yes. Yeah.
Right back here, huh?